This week we are going through our last lesson in JavaScript, and we're going to be covering form enhancement and validation. So you will read the chapter in your book and go through the key concepts from chapter 13. And I have split this into several different sections. The first section, and this one is required, deals with JavaScript data validation and error handling. And there is a video that kind of explains everything in here to you, but it is pretty self-explanatory as far as how you set this up. And I did highlight the different sections of HTML that you need to be aware of. And I have the live example here for you to look at. And then some things that you need to note about the JavaScript code. And we have been working with forms, so some of this is review, but this should just solidify the whole concept of validating your forms, at least on the client side, and how to do it in JavaScript. And then we cover how to do this in jQuery, and we actually use a plugin for validating. So this is going to walk you through how to use the plugin, and it does make validation pretty easy, and I think you will like the way the forms look. And let me pull one up and show you. What I like about the jQuery is it shows you all of the problems at once, whereas the JavaScript one doesn't. It kind of shows you one at a time. And here it kind of gives you an idea of everything. And the code is pretty simple. Basically, because we are using the plugin. Let me see if I can zoom in. So the way that you have to set this up is with a very specific name. It's .validate, and then whatever you called your form. And then you're basically going to send it the data that it needs to perform the validation. So you'll have rules and you'll have messages that you want to display, rules that you want to enforce. Okay, and then down here is basically what I want to happen for the action. And basically I want the form to submit. So the lecture demo will explain all of that to you and how all of it works and what your different options are for the validation using that jQuery plugin. And then the last thing that you are going to take a look at that is required is using JavaScript to process HTML5 form elements. Now, we did take a look at this earlier, but there is a whole lot of information here. So what I've got up at the top are internal links to each section. So if there was something that you were fuzzy on, you can go directly to it. And if you scroll up, it shows you the HTML, and then in the box, it shows you the JavaScript you need to use to access that data. Okay, so how to access it. If you wanted to create an input element, how would you do that? Okay, all of the information that you would need to know about that particular form element. And so I've got them all kind of listed out here, and you can just kind of click and take a look. So this is for a drop-down list. Okay, and this is telling you all of the information that you need to know. And actually, you could click on that button to take you back up to the top. So these will take you directly to those sections, and then you can go back up to the top. And then if you did need to review the HTML portion, you can just scroll up a little bit. The last section is optional. It's about DOM events and event objects. We have looked at this before, so this is not new. But again, this is a review. And if you click here, it basically shows you the type of event, the different methods. So prevent default is part of the object event, the properties, and then what you can do with media and document and form. And for animation event, you've got properties, and these are the different animation events. Then we've got clipboard event with properties and various clipboard events. So you can kind of take a look at that. And again, this is optional, but it is helpful to know this information, especially if you are building out games. And once you finish all of that, you're going to complete the programming assignment, which basically has you creating a couple forms or adding code for forms. So you're going to download the Vacation Club. And you're going to name the first one Vacation Club JavaScript, and the second one is going to be Vacation Club jQuery. And obviously they both look the same. Okay, it's this, but you're going to code up the validation of one of them using JavaScript, and the other one, you're going to be using the jQuery plugin. And here's the confirmation page. And then the CSS and the graphic. So what is going to be different here is simply the JavaScript versus the jQuery code that you use. So exercise 2 involves adding your custom JavaScript validation. So you go through here, and I did try to highlight tags that you need to add to your HTML. And then you're going to need to add a script tag and add a source for the JavaScript. And for that JavaScript file itself, I've got directions on how to create that. And then I also have examples that you can look at. And then when we get into the jQuery portion, you're going to open up that HTML for editing. You're going to have to add the code for the jQuery library and the validate plugin. And you'll have to modify the form action because you're going to want it to go to the confirm. And you'll add the script tag with the source being your Vacation Club jQuery JavaScript. And then you'll have to create that file, the Vacation Club jQuery file, save it into the JS folder. This file is going to be very similar to this example, so you can pull up the example. The example is from the lecture demo. There are some things that are a little different, and I kind of pointed those out, but I really don't think you're going to have a problem with either one of these exercises. Okay, and that is all you have to do this week. After you get done with that, you are going to want to either create a Certiport account if you do not have it. Although I do think most of you have the account. So what you're going to have to do is simply log in. Now go to Certiport. You're going to log in. And then once you're logged in, and it's got your name. Let's see if I can remember mine. Okay, so once you're logged in, I don't really care what it shows down here. Or I mean, you can show your transcript, but that doesn't matter as much to me. What I want is just a screenshot of the top part showing that you know how to log in, because you're going to have to know your username and your password for your certification exam. And then once you take that screenshot, you'll add it to the Dropbox and you'll get points for doing that. Once you finish, you are going to continue working on your game project. That last milestone is due on the 25th. So you still have a couple weeks, but you should be kind of finalizing that at this point, because you do have the certification exam coming up that you are also going to want to prepare for. If you have any questions or you run into problems, let me know, and have a great week.